Okay. Real quick, I just want to take a look at a post on Spectrum. It is marked concern. And I like the guy. He actually was in a PvP tournament with me, of all things, which is kind of funny. But I'm going to try and say it correctly. Knebel it made a post on Spectrum about on the 13th. I'm literally 5 days late to this, just because I've been kind of detoxing from Star Citizen a little bit about kind of PvP and Star Citizen events and things like that. So I will almost certainly disagree with him, but again, I will do my best to do it respectfully. So with that said, more PvP versus PvE discussion. Just the thing I know you guys want to hear about, but I think it's really important to continue to discuss this, to continue to talk about it, to continue to highlight other people's perspectives, because he is certainly on the opposite side of the spectrum than me. And yeah, so Knebel, right? Knebel. The first one is long. It's very hard for me. I don't know why. I tried my best. All respect to him and trying to say the name correctly, but for whatever reason, my New Jersey, I can't handle it. Anyway, let's read it. Dear developers, dear community, with Alpha 4.1 comes the new event Align in Mind, which introduces some exciting new mechanics. However, it currently seems that access to certain resources, especially Karatrine or whatever it's called, Karenite or something like that, is only possible through a single highly contested zone. Right away, no, it's 4 highly contested zones, but 4 all at the same time on a server with 500 people. Most likely not all of them will be contested at the same time. But the first week or so, I can almost surely guarantee that these areas are going to be pretty hot if the locations work at all. Right now, we don't even know. This creates a significant hurdle for all those players who focus on the PvE part of Star Citizen, fighting against NPCs, as well as more economic, explorative, or industrial gameplay, and do not want to get involved in direct PvP conflicts. Now, what I will say to that is, in testing the PTU, and I don't know how much he's done rock mining, I haven't seen it yet. This is something that I'm putting out there, seeing if anybody else who's tested. I saw one person who seemed to know a lot about rock mining in my Twitch chat mention that while mining some of the new materials, that Karenite, again, I think he spelled it wrong, the Karenite was available to randomly spawn in some of the lower level minables. Like, just he extracted some randomly. So it's possible to get these by going the PvE route, potentially. Now, would you be against it? If that's the way it was. Takes you a little bit longer, but there's no risk. I think I'm okay with that personally. I don't know what other people feel like. I do think that there should be some things that are exclusively behind risk, right? To complain about pyro and contested zones like people did was nuts, especially when the gear that you got in them wasn't even really meta anyway, right? But the community did just to complain without actually even knowing if they were good. You think Knebel didn't know that? Yeah, the thing is I don't even know that. It was said by one person. So I don't know what any of that stuff is. So yeah. And Ben, we're not going to do stuff like that, okay? The idea here is, I think if you're able to do some of the content, but it takes much longer, then that's fine. I do also think that if you wait a week, you're probably going to be able to do this on your own as well. There's, not just one location, because there's not just one server, and there's 4 locations on each server. If we do the math, it multiplies a lot. There's no way that you won't find one that's uncontested. So in the current landscape of Star Citizen, I think them putting in 4, you'll be able to have your PvE experience if you want it. You're just going to have to work for it. And if you want to just get in and play and experience it how it was intended to be by the developer, there might be some PvP there. Obviously, these are in monitored zones. So if you do win the fights, you can send people to jail and things like that. So it is kind of possible. There are bugs, like Rebel in chat is saying my pants, jacket, and armor disappeared that I bought with real money after you died. Yes, that I think it's literally in the known issues. So don't stress out about it too much. It's something that they're trying to fix. All right, let's make sure I didn't skip ahead. All right, there we go. While the earlier event, Supply or Die, allowed for different approaches, Align and Mine seems to be a one-way street here, involving an excessive PvP focus and a lack of PvE mechanics. No? Not really, right? This doesn't feel PvP focused at all. It is just becoming PvP focused. Because players aren't really willing to work together. I wonder if this has to do with the tier 0 item recovery thing. Do you think because people are less worried about losing, they're more inclined to shoot now? Potentially? I think also people are trying to fight and watch and see how those mechanics are now. Because in every other event, the Star Citizen community loves to just, they're all British. They just queue up in a line. It's wild. No matter what, they will find a way to queue up in a line. They will figure out a way to queue up in a line for this as well. I swear, there'll be a line coming out of the cave, and one person will go in, and there'll be somebody there directing them to what rock they're allowed to mine next. I swear they will. We actually put an instance in to reduce PvP. This is coming from Ian, who's been a part of the team making this. And again, it is a monitored zone, so it should help reduce it a little bit. If there is PvP, if you send those people to jail, it's going to take them a little while to get there. I'm having a hard time agreeing with the excessive PvP focus because the design isn't forcing PvP at all. Outside of there is one cave, right? There is only one. I'm trying to think of, are there other examples of this? Because why would he feel this way? Like, because I don't think he's necessarily wrong, because it is incredibly PvP focused every single time I've played it. There's just gunfire everywhere. Should we add a mission to kill players around these locations? No, you should just figure out a way to get the bounties to come back, and it'll probably be okay, right? Like, I can totally see a world where players who want to be mercenaries could solve a lot of the problems at these locations if the bounty missions were back. Them just not being there is probably highlighting a bit of that problem. Maybe, right? I want to think on this a little bit harder, but I really think that it's probably the tier 0 thing and people just going wild because they have no risk right now, just in the moment is all. So I don't know. But outside of that, it's hard to say. No, I'm kidding. Maybe if prison worked a bit better or the punishment for crimes was worse, people would be more deterred from just insta PvP. Yeah, I mean, I've always thought the solution to this PvP versus PvE thing are the solutions that have been mentioned all along, like, NPC security showing up and protecting you, and those things just don't happen right now. But the game has to go on, right? Like, I don't think that the experiences that we're having now has ever been or will ever be the like intended design of the game. But it doesn't matter. This is the game we have to play now. So what solutions are you guys going to come up with to make it the most fun? Is the question. It's weird. It does feel like there's going to be competition over this stuff, but for how long? The rewards are cool, but they're not like OP or anything. Like, oh, okay, you can get a Polaris. There's 5,000 Polarises just flying around the game anyway, and people just leave them, and you could go grab one and fly it. You know, I don't think that ship is enough of a draw to make people fight over it. So anyway, let's keep reading this post. Why this is problematic. The event mechanics currently almost exclusively reward those who actively engage in PvP content. This creates a PvP compulsion. Okay. Now we're psychologists, I guess. But I think the only mechanic that does is the cave. The other stuff does seem like it incentivizes working together. Like, hey, I'll go do this. I'll go do number 3 and make that thing align while you do number 2 and somebody else does number 1. We'll do it all together really quick, and then somebody else will be ready to hit the button. I'll bring the batteries up. Like, it does seem like very team-focused from a design standpoint, but for some reason, players are fighting, and I think it's more that there's no risk, but I don't want to do that because I don't want people to think that I'm saying that in a negative way. Because I'm not really. It's just trying to figure out why in what I believe to be a PvE focused mission is there so much PvP. Players who tend to specialize in logistics, mining, or trade, or who generally prefer a PvE solution, have little opportunity to meaningful participate in the event. So, if you're really good at mining, you're gonna have the opportunity, if you have a group of people who are really good at PvP that can hold the location down for you. You're gonna be the one mining and getting the stuff for everybody, right? Like, I could totally see a world where I'm playing with Space Cutlet or Shadow Moses or Hitbo or Burks or anybody who's way more PvP focused than me. They're doing all the fighting. We're doing all the aligning and grabbing keys and PvE stuff while they're fighting, right? Like, make friends with people who know how to fight then. I don't get it. You don't have to do these things. You literally do not have to do these things. You find a group of people that do, and you become friends with them. That's like part of being an MMO. This is like that modern MMO stuff where it's like, I want my cake and I want to eat it too, and I want to be able to do everything the way I want to be able to do it. And it's like, you know, sometimes the design of some of the content is not going to be for PvE players, right? Now, what's funny is this seems like it is supposed to be for PvE players, whereas the contested zone content, you know, I did kind of understand why players were feeling left out, because it was really the first time they ever did entirely PvP focused stuff, and it was like really, really heavily done. But the I don't know, I just don't understand the mentality of like, hey, sometimes the event might not be for me, but then what do you do in that situation? Like, just to be clear, I don't I will FPS PvP, but I will not ship PvP. I hate it. I do it when I have to, but I don't like doing it. And if I could do anything other than that, I would. Right? But the idea here of I can't possibly participate in this is just not the truth, because you make friends with people that are able to participate in it. And that's a part of being in an MMO. It always has been, right? Is if you want to do content, make friends with the people who can do it. And that's what MMOs are all about to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here, but I don't think so. It would be good for the game Star Citizen in general if there's always a pure PvE solution for end content, events, and other complex things, as well as an additional PvP solution so that players can find themselves in the game and be fulfilled. I get where he's coming to from that. And do you know what's funny is I really think this is the solution for Star Citizen. So hold on, hear him out. He's not entirely wrong. But I think he's right on the macro experience. of Star Citizen, not the micro experience of an event. So a place like Stanton, where this event is located, there should be better security and things like that. Hold on, I need to close the door. There should be better security for things like criminals and stuff, and then it's not as big of a problem. But or in general, let's say there's an event in Terra one day. There's no PvE at all. It's all instanced. Let's say just the only thing that we know of that would be this is like a sandworm or Siege of Orison or something like that, where it could be just completely instanced. And what I don't care, in events like that, I hope the best PvP gear is there, and then it's PvE players selling to PvP players, things like that. Now, I don't agree that every event everyone should be able to participate in the way that they want. Now, I really did like that there was a mining solution, a salvage solution, and a quote-unquote PvP solution for the supply or die side of things. But yeah, it's not really... I think what Star Citizen needs to do is create the idea of no risk over here, some type of reward, or no reward, or very little reward, or however you want to do it. I do believe that there should be exclusive PvE instance content. I was so happy to see that when they brought it to CitizenCon last year for players who don't want to deal with that stuff. Grind that all day. Now, what I hope is that contested zone type content might have good gear or ammo or weapons or something like that you would need to participate in those things. So everybody is kind of aligned and working together in some way, shape, or form, right? So maybe I like to do the PvE stuff, or I like mining, or I like this. And then there's a unique armor drop that has special radiation removing qualities that are used in this other, PvP scenario, things like that. I think it's when you bring players together from that standpoint, where some of the things that you're farming are used over here. Some of the possible drops can be used by other people. I always think that that's good. But I don't think CIG needs to be all-inclusive for everything. Pyro should not be for everyone. Events in Pyro should not be for everyone. Events in Stanton and maybe Terra in the future should not be for everyone either. So this isn't a PvP friendly or PvP leaning point of view that I have here. I do believe these communities should be more separate, but I've always said that the PvE or the casual player or the insert whatever negative connotation towards a gamer, but not really negative, just not a PvP focused player, should be enticed to want to kind of go out there and engage in an area that has a little bit more risk. So for example, I'm struggling killing the sandworm over here. Maybe if I get some better quality gear, which is only available in Pyro, I'll have an easier time with it. That's what I'm talking about. Event-wise, no. I think that's a terrible idea, and I think it's the only really, truly bad take that he has here is endgame content should not have PvE-only solutions or whatever. There should be PvP end content, there should be PvE endgame content, and so on. The whole Pyro station stuff, if he's going to make a post saying that he should be able to participate in this exclusively in PvE, he has to know that that's really a silly thing to say, right? So he has to recognize that there's some things for some people and some things for others, and not everything is for you. I think anytime I've read, that's my only real issue with posts that I've seen from him, are that he seems to speak for the entitled player. I'm not saying he's entitled himself, because I don't know him, and that wouldn't be fair. But I've seen a lot of posts that are I feel that I should be able to do everything without having to deal with these other issues that are they're not even issues. It's part of the design, right? So anyway, let's go to his suggestions for improvement. Create alternative procurement methods through isolated order deposits outside of the hotspot zone, through purchasing options from NPC traders at very high prices, low stock, NPC merchant ships that carry such goods that can be looted, for example, through piracy with the risk of getting a crime stat, or through legal bounties. I'm going to be honest with you. I think when this event ends, this is exactly what's going to happen. But I think for the event, they want to bring us all together to do it. I think after the event, I think that's a perfectly fine thing to do. I don't know what you guys think, but post-event, I don't think you need to have it exclusively at Align or Mine. But I also don't think that those stations are going anywhere. So I hope it's open to everybody. But during the event, it should be like maybe an event-focused thing. So, yeah. And then maybe solve a little bit of the PvP problem, or why is it happening so much, or whatever, right? An event like Align and Mine offers enormous potential for integrating even more playstyles. If Star Citizen continues to see itself as an open, diverse space simulation, then it would be great enrichment if this and future events offered several solutions that offer both PvP and PvE opportunities instead of focusing on one particular way of participating. I don't think this post is that bad. It's got a bunch of updates and things like that. I mean, again, he has a really big community, so without him like purposefully brigading, it's gonna get updated by his friends and stuff. But I think some events, there's no problem with doing it that way. Again, Supply or Die or whatever was really good, and he seems to like that one. I don't hate Supply or Die outside of the obvious like oversights and problems that were involved with it. Those were just minor issues, right? But the fact that I can go in mine, I can go in salvage, I can do the event in so many different ways is a good thing. It is the best thing about that event. But that doesn't need to be applied to every event in Star Citizen. It doesn't need to be applied to everything in Star Citizen. It just doesn't. And again, if we're going to have a lawless star system like Pyro, and you're going to have a lawful star system, well, somewhat at least, like Stanton, and a very lawful star system like Terra, you're going to have your events. You're going to have your things. And let me tell you something. If a PvPer posts complaining that there's a PvE event over here that they can't pirate you at, or they can't do anything, I'm going to be just as critical of that post. Let me tell you. Because there's nothing better than hearing a PvPer complain that they have to grind a PvE thing to get good PvP gear. I love that aspect of MMOs. That's one of my favorite things, is when they're forced to play a little bit or forced to engage with other PvPers who like the grind, who like what would it be called? When you loot a bunch of stuff like a pack rat or whatever, like that kind of mentality. So I will be just as critical of those players than any other. And I have been throughout my whole time streaming. You need to have everybody be happy here, but the way to have everybody be happy is not to try to make everybody happy all the time. That you kind of are a loot goblin. That's the actual word I was looking for. Thank you. Like, there needs to be PvP events like contested zones. There needs to be PvE events like Siege of Orson. Siege of Orson was a PvE event. There ended up being some PvP at it, but Siege of Orson needed to be a PvE event, right? That's it. It's okay. And I don't think everywhere should be dangerous, but I think the places that are dangerous should come with the most reward. And anybody who is complaining that they aren't able to do it because they're not sweaty enough, start making friends with somebody who is. Start providing the people who are with something of value. That's what I do, and I have no problems participating in these things. And it's not because I'm a streamer or anything. It's because I've provided value to those players, and that's how it's done, right? Yeah. So It is what it is, and it's they just entitlement is what I think is one of the biggest problems in the community, and that is the only issue I have with this post. Is it's just oozing with a little bit too much entitlement, and but again, it's hard for me to disagree with him in the sense of this really feels like it should be a PvE event, and there is so much PvP happening, and I just think perhaps there's a little too much scarcity of the material, and there's too many steps to get it, and that's why everyone's like rushing for it. I don't really think it's that big of a problem, right? I don't know, but again, I do think you can get the Karenite, just really challenging. So, I mean, I don't hate it. I don't hate if you can get Karenite during the event, just really slowly. So in general, I largely agree with him. But I don't agree that everybody should be able to do everything without the design intention existing. So if the design intention is for there to be some fights and you don't want to fight, you might not be able to participate, or you have to participate in a different way. And that's just it. Simple as that. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But we really need to start separating our players, is how I feel at this point. I'm so tired of posts like this. I'm so tired of conversations like this. It's getting so old. It's been 10 years of this crap, and I'm just over it, dude. Like, we need to just have players doing their thing over here, players doing their thing over there, and if you want to swap sides, you got to kind of play within the rule set to some extent of what's in each system. And yeah, I'm just tired of it. Yeah, you could probably buy Karenite from other players, but again, they're not really supporting that in the game at all. But I don't know, man. I don't know.